Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. This is in the middle of this plan. We have the consultant with us this evening. I have the director from DLNR with us this evening. We are going to have a presentation for you. I will kindly ask to hold your questions till after the presentation and we will answer them. I'm hoping to wrap this up by about 8:30. But sometimes we go a little over. I don't want to keep you here real late this evening, and I want to honor everybody's time. If you're a little shame and you don't want to come up to the microphone, please come grab one of us and we will talk to you on the side. I have no problem with that. First and foremost, I am Joe Jordan. Thank you again for coming this evening. I helped host this evening for our consultant. So when we come to the question and answer period, Olelo will be filming this evening. When you want to ask your question, you'll have to go to the microphone in the back, speak clearly into the microphone, and hopefully our consultant or DLNR will be able to answer your question. If it's not answerable this evening, we will get back to you as long as you leave us a phone number or an email address. Again, thank you again for coming this evening. I will turn it over to, he moved over here, Director William Ayla.
Thank you, Joe, and mahalo. And I think the community owes a special thanks to Joe Jordan, who worked very, very hard in the House to get the money in the budget at a time when money in the budget is very hard to get to conduct this study. And of course, on the Senate side, had some help from Miley. So the only reason why we're here tonight is because of the hard work that she's done in the legislature. Just to remind everybody why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to gather information from the public, from people, the residents in Makaha, after seeing the presentation on how to make the flood study and the recommendations that come from the flood study better, more appropriate, more applicable. So that's why we're here tonight. So I would ask that you kind of keep your comments to that sort of objective that we're trying to get tonight. This really isn't about the Makaha bridges. This really isn't about the SCAP. You guys can smile, but that's what we're here for tonight. We're here for, okay? This is what we're here for. We're here to talk about the flood study, okay? So I understand that there's some strong feelings about the bridges and things like that, but that's not what we're here tonight for, okay? And with that, please keep your comments to the task at hand tonight. That's the only way that we're going to get good information. It's the only way that we're going to come up with a solution, some recommendations that are going to be meaningful, okay? If we rehash old issues, we're not going to move forward and we're not going to have good solutions. So I just want to start off with that caution. Bruce?
Thank you, Joe and William. Aloha, everybody. Thanks so much for coming tonight. And has everybody had a chance to sign in? Because if we have address and especially email, we'll send you notes from this meeting in draft. And then if something in the notes looks funny to you, you get back to us and say, no, it was this way, not that way. So we try to do that. Again, I'm Bruce Tsuchida. I'm the principal planner of Townscape Inc. We're the planning company that's been contracted by DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resources, to do this Makaha flood study. Thank you. Thank you. Just real quickly, tonight we have, the name again is Bruce Tsuchida, Tsuchida. I'm the principal planner and president of Townscape Inc. We're a planning company, do environmental and community planning. Some people here may have seen us when we worked on the Border Water Supply Waianae Watershed Plan a couple years ago, and also the city's Waianae Sustainable Communities Plan. So we've done some work here in Waianae. Just real quickly, I'd like to introduce the folks from our team who are here tonight. Gabrielle Sham, way over there, from Townscape, and Tina Speed, who's been taking photographs here from Townscape. 3 people from our sub-consultant, Okahara Associates. They are engineers. Their president, Bruce Myers, is here. Ed Yoshida and Colin Hashiro. And those folks will, during the question and answer period, I'll field some of the questions, but if it gets real tough, then I'll ask some of those folks to provide answers. So this is what we'd like to do this evening. First, we have a slideshow that Gabrielle Sham is going to present to you. It's a little long, and we apologize for that. It's going to run 25, 30 minutes, which we usually don't like to do because people kind of get bored after a while. But we have a lot of information we want to share with you about flooding in Makaha, such as we understand. And again, this is preliminary, so a lot of you folks, especially those who have lived in the valley a long time, you, I'm sure, know the situation better than we do, which is why we wanted to meet with you tonight, because we want to share with you what we've learned, but since our work is still very preliminary, we want to hear from you, your experiences in the valley, what your experience with flooding has been, and your ideas on solving some of those flooding problems. We'll have some very preliminary ideas on solutions, but they're preliminary only, and that's why we wanted to talk with you tonight, way before anything gets fixed and final, right? So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Gabrielle, and she'll take you through the slideshow. And again, please hold your questions till after we finish the slideshow, and then we'll do question and answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll try to keep this slideshow short, not to bore you all night. Okay, so these are some of the photos of damages after the storm in November 1996 that created that huge mudslide behind the towers. It brought in 20 inches of rain within 5 days, and that's equivalent to what the average rainfall on the coast is along Makaha. This is after December 2008, where it brought in 12 inches of rain just within 1 day into the valley, causing severe damage, including damaging the berm below Makaha West Golf Course and flooding some of the homes below it. Okay, so here's an outline of what I'll go over tonight. I'll start with some background information on the project, and then I'll go into existing conditions in the valley. I'll talk about the FEMA flood insurance rate map and some of the drainage issues that we've heard from community members. And then I'll talk about the preliminary flood mitigation ideas that we have based on some of the flood problems that we've heard. And then I'll go into next steps and where do we go from here. Okay, so a little bit of this project background. It's funded by It was funded by a bill that was passed by Representative Joe Jordan in 2012, and it appropriated $500,000 for this study. As a result of the bill, State DLNR is responsible to conduct this flood study, and they've contracted us, Townscape, to do this, and we have working with us our sub-consultants, Okahara and Associates. I want to start off by saying our commitment to the Makaha community. We are here tonight to present the flood facts as it is, and we will work together with you, the community, your elected officials, and government agencies to implement flood mitigation projects. Over the 20 years, Townscape has been involved with numerous projects along the Waianae Coast, including working with Ka'ala Farm. We've also worked on the Waianae Watershed Management Plan with the Board of Water Supply. And then specifically for Makaha, we worked with the Department of Planning and Permitting in 2009, and we worked on the Makaha Special Area Plan. Okay, so this project is 20 months long. We began in June of last year. We're about halfway through, and we anticipate to finish by January of 2015. So we began the project by conducting background research on the valley. We did some talk stories with community members on historical flooding problems. And then we've done a hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, basically to find out what the peak flows are for different flood events. We've identified some problems and flood risks, which we'll present today. And then we're beginning to identify possible flood mitigation measures for these flood problems. So our stakeholder outreach process, we've contacted some community members throughout the valley. We've talked to some major landowners, as well as public agencies, including the Department of Transportation, State Civil Defense, DPP Drainage Department, Board of Water Supply, and then, of course, your elected officials. Okay. So Makaha, located on the Waianae Coast, our project covers the entire valley. So that's, So we're talking about the whole entire 5,900 acres. That's a lot of land. There are 3 streams. The main one, as you may know, Makaha Stream right here, that originates all the way in the top and the back of the valley by Mount Ka'ala. And then to the left of it, on the Kaina Point side, is West Makaha. And then to the right, on the Honolulu side, is what we call Eku Stream. That starts behind Manu'olu Estates. And as you may know, on the top of the valley, it rains a lot more. So the average rainfall per year at the very top is about 76 inches, and then when you get to the bottom, about 22 inches. I do want to note that in 1996, as I said earlier, 22 inches of rain was recorded within 5 days, and then in 2008, 12 inches of rain was recorded just within 1 day. That's a lot of rain. The state pretty much owns almost no land in the valley except for this blue part by Mount Ka'ala. And then all of this orange land is owned by Board of Water Supply. That's about 2/3 of the valley. And then the remainder is privately owned. Of the privately owned, the 2 largest landowners are Pacific Links, owning about 400 acres, and then HRT, that's about a little bit more than 200 acres, and all of their land are undeveloped. Okay, so the state land use districts, they designate the areas for urban development. 35% of this valley is designated as urban. That's the largest urban area within the Waianae Coast. It's also the furthest, it goes furthest inland, about 2.5 miles inland into the valley. Of this urban area, there's a lot of large undeveloped parcels, a dozen or so, zoned for different uses, including residential, right here, R10, which means 10,000 square foot lots. There's R20, which means residential 20,000 square foot lots. There's also Ag 1, prime ag land, Ag 2, which is secondary ag land, and then you have other land zoned for different uses. Here's some resort zoning, and up here as well. So future development in these large parcels can lead to more flooding. Okay. So for example, let's take a 20-acre parcel in Makaha that is zoned for residential during a 10-year flood. Some of the water can seep into the ground, but you'll have some that comes off as runoff. That's, for example, here, 15 cubic feet per second. Say we develop it, we put houses on it, we cover it with roads, sidewalks, parking lot. The runoff is going to increase significantly. Here, about 4 times. Looking at the big picture, we know that the Earth's climate is experiencing changes already, including increase in sea level rise, decrease in rainfall, and then increase in the intensity of major storms. So even without development, we'll see larger storms, more runoff. I don't think you can really read this, but here, the shark is saying, good news, at the current rate of global warming, we'll be able to just swim our way and eat him in under 5 years. Okay, so 3/4 of the valley drain into Makaha Stream. and then the remainder into EcoStream. Okay. So the streams in Makaha are not owned by one single entity, but it's owned by several different private landowners. It's the owner's responsibility to maintain these streams. So for Makaha, this part, Pacific Link's own parts of it, you have HRT, and then you have Makaha Valley Road down here. The same for EcoStream. But in this case, there's a lot of tons of private landowners down here that own part of the stream. And most of their property lines, actually all of their property lines, go up to the center line of the stream. Okay. So the flood insurance rate map, this is FEMA's regulatory map. There are generally 3 different zones. You have your high-risk area, which is this blue area, also known as your special flood hazard area, which is your 100-year floodplain. And then you have your moderate to low-risk area, which is this white, lighter area. And then you have your undetermined risk. Even though that's undetermined, flooding is still possible. And I do want to point out that if you look closely in this 100-year floodplain in this high-risk area, there's actually a lot of homes located within that high-risk area. Okay. So what specifically is a high-risk area? It's the special flood hazard area, like I said. There's a flood insurance requirement to it. So if you live in a high-risk area and if you need a mortgage approval, you need flood insurance. And there's also certain building standards that you must follow if you live in this high-risk area. Statistically speaking, if you live in this high-risk area, you have a 26% chance of experiencing flooding during a 30-year mortgage. Okay. So some of the drainage systems in Makaha, it includes berms, swells, and underground pipes. So here behind Monolith Estates, you have a berm, which is an earthen material that's pushed up to like a hill. So here's a berm that conveys some of the water from this side of the mountain through a concrete channel and conveys it into Makaha Stream. There's another berm here behind the towers that conveys water under Kili Drive and then into the stream. And then below Makaha West Golf Course, you have another berm that was built that are protecting some of these homes down here. Okay. So I want to show you an example of what a well-planned drainage system would look like in an urban area. These black lines represent underground concrete pipes or swells or ditches. So they're all connected and they convey water into this channelized stream. But what we have in Makaha is a piecemeal system. It looks kind of like this. There's a berm here, there's a concrete channel here, and there's some piping system here, but no overall drainage system. So that's an issue. Okay, so flooding in Makaha is caused by numerous things, some including a damaged drainage systems. The berm behind Makaha, behind Monolith Estates, part of the berm is just level with the ditch, so stormwater is just going straight through. Below Makaha West Golf Course as well, this was damaged in 2008. So during a large storm, stormwaters are just flooding some of these homes below here. There's also no drainage infrastructure for these lower area. We've heard that along Kili Drive, most of the drain storms are clogged during large storms by small rocks and debris. And then also there's a sand berm at the mouth of Makaha Stream that's restricting some of the stormwater from discharging into the ocean. Okay, so this is just an overview of the different very preliminary flood mitigation ideas, and I want to emphasize these are just preliminary ideas that we have for the different flood problems. So for EcoStream here, this would be a 5-acre detention basin and then a channel. For Makaha Stream, a levee system, basically a flood wall. In our case, it would be a concrete wall to protect the homes over here. over here would be a channel on the Kaina Point side of Keeley Drive to convey all the water from this side of the mountain. Some other ideas that we have are berm maintenance behind Monroe Estates and for the towers, also for native forest restoration as well, and then also a stream maintenance program. Okay. So this is a cross-section, which is basically, a cross-section is if you take it's a drawing of if you take an object and if you cut it straight across. So this is a cross-section of what Eku Stream rock channel would look like. You're facing Makaha. This is the dashed line is the original stream. This is what it looks like right now. So we would widen it to this width. It would be about 50 feet wide on the base. The top would be about 84 feet wide. And it would be lined, it would be very natural, lined with rocks, and then also a 16 feet wide maintenance road. Another option is doing a concrete channel, but we know there's often negative impacts, negative ecological impacts associated with concrete channels. But in this case, if this is an option, again, this dashed line is the existing ground. And we would widen the stream, so this would be the concrete channel. The base would be about 40 feet wide, and then the width at the top would be about 68 feet wide, 5 feet deep. And then again, you would have a 16 feet maintenance road. Now for Makaha Stream, this is the levee. Over here would be where the homes are. You're facing Makaha. This would be the existing berm, the dashed line. And then this would be your concrete levee. It would go into the existing ground. The height of this levee will vary depending on the existing topography. So you would also have a 16 feet wide maintenance row here. And this would basically protect flooding of all the homes that are getting all the flooding right now down here. Okay, another idea that we have is for along Keeley Drive on the Kaina Point side would be a concrete channel. It would be 10 feet at the base, 60 feet wide, 10 feet wide at the base, 60 feet wide at the top, about 5 feet deep. And basically, it would go all the way to where it hits West Makaha, so it can discharge over there. Okay, so other non-structural ideas that we have include scheduled stream channel maintenance. We need to make sure that we maintain the overgrown vegetation and we remove any debris that's blocking the stream channel from flowing, for the stream from flowing. Also, storm drainage infrastructure maintenance. That includes the berm behind Monroe Estates and Makaha Towers. Here in this picture on the left, you can see the earth berm is basically eroding under this gunite, which is sprayed concrete. And then over here, these are debris poles that are 3 feet high, and they're filled to the top with rocks. So definitely maintenance is a big issue here. And then finally, native forest restoration. Studies show that with native plants, native forests, that they actually have, they can absorb 2 times greater than non-native plants. Okay, finally, next steps. Where do we go from here? After this meeting, we need to finalize these flood mitigation projects. Of course, this is after talking to you and getting your input. Then we need to do cost estimates and then develop some kind of priority phase listing for these projects. And then, of course, we have to identify funding sources. Okay, so that's it, and I'll turn it back to Bruce for questions.
Okay.
We should give Gabrielle a hand because she got through that real fast. We timed this slideshow back at the office at 28 minutes. And I think she just did it in 17, according to my count. But I know that's a lot of information. I'm sure you folks have ideas, concerns, etc. So this is your chance to share with us. So questions, if you either speak to that mic or if you're closer to this one, come speak to this one.
Simple question, will these slides be available on a website for us to review?
We can do that. So if you leave us an email address, we can email you to tell you how to access that website. Yeah. Because usually what we do is we put it on our company website, but we only keep it there for 30 days or something like that. Other questions, issues? I can't see beyond the bright light here.
I can bring the mic to people.
Okay, just have to point it down. Hi, I'm Lois Durr, and I live on Manuku Street. And a few years ago, I know my neighbor's house flooded 2 doors down from me. At the time, I didn't go file when they had meetings for damage, because I didn't realize we had had damage. We lost land. We're on the Makaha stream, and I have 3 specific questions to do with the slideshow. Okay, one, I really feel very stupid. I should have been here a long time ago, but I'm here now. Anyway, my question is, where's the echo stream come out? I don't know that term. I've never heard that used before, and I don't know where it comes out to the ocean. Oh. Okay, I don't know where that is, so. Oh.
Bruce, Bruce.
Okay, I'd never heard that term. I do know it floods over there, so, okay. My second question is, in back of my house and Makaha of my house, there's what looks like a concrete spillway. I have never known what it was built for. It's, I live at 84514 Manuku Street, and like I said, downstream from my backyard, which would be Makaha, there's a concrete, I would call it a spillway. I don't know what it is, okay? And I'm curious. Nobody's ever told me what it's for or what it is. And then my third question, I heard something that seemed kind of confusing to me. One was you said that the owners are responsible for the stream, you know, on our property.
That's right.
But also there was talk about cleaning up the stream. I have a real problem, and Miley sent somebody out to see if they could help, but I'm not sure how to solve it. The storm drain comes out on my property. So everybody who throws trash down those storm drains that you think it disappears, nope, it's in my yard. So it's down in the stream. So questions about those 3 items. Thank you.
Concrete spillway, I don't know what that is, but if we have, next time we're out there, if we can contact you and you can show it to us, then we can see what it is.
For a while, it was a great skating,
Yeah, I guess. And as far as storm drain ending up on your property, we'd like to see that too because, well, what can I say? I mean, that should not be the case. Storm drains that are draining whole areas should not end up on a residential lot. So if that's what's happening,
Can I
somehow we got to
clarify?
fix that.
Yeah. When I contacted Miley's office a couple of years ago when I realized I had lost so much land, you know, out in the stream. We had to move our fence back and everything. So if that continued to happen, eventually it would destroy my home. And anyway, when they came, Miley sent somebody right away from city county. And the people were very nice, and they told me they couldn't help me because they said, they wanted me to let Miley know how quickly they responded. They were lovely. However, they said the storm drain was built by the builder, so therefore city county was not responsible for it. So that just seems kind of kapakai to me. So again,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, let me just say, unfortunately, the case is most of the roads and drainage ways in Makaha Valley are not city property. They're built by private developers, never turned over to the city. So when the city says, sorry, it's not our problem, unfortunately, that's the fact. And that's part of the problem with your valley is you get all these privately owned roads, drainage ways, et cetera, and they're not being taken care of. Yes, certainly. One,
told me my land was in real danger because the shape of the stream has now changed, and it very much was.
yes. Okay, for your property and others on Manuku Street, we showed a slide that had what we called a levee. Maybe that wasn't real clear, but basically that's a flood wall on the stream side of your property and other properties on Manuku Street that would protect your property from flooding.
But the flooding came from the mountain, it didn't come from the ocean.
No, I'm saying from the mountainside flooding. Now, that is right now a preliminary idea. We have to figure out more engineering details, and eventually, we got to find money to do these things. Yeah. But that is one way of solving that problem for you folks.
Thank you.
Other questions?
My name's Moana Kea Clausmeyer Among. I own the property on Makaha Stream, on the beach, on the Makai side of Farrington Highway at Bridge 3. I can answer some of Lois's questions. The reason she has so much flooding is exactly what Bruce is talking about. Nobody's maintaining anything, and our city and county has gone ahead and allowed owners or new property owners to do whatever they want on their property and not hold them to the responsibility that they're supposed to maintain the free flowage in the natural stream beds. So consequently, now we have berms, we have underground pipes, and everything's been diverted into, as he said, Makaha Stream, and that's why we all get the damage. The Eku Stream that you were asking what it was about no longer flows naturally. And that's why all the people on Lahaina Street and Orange Street and all that low area across from Mauna Lahi flood so bad because it overflows and it goes into all those people's property. So I see a real problem. They need to get Echo Stream running again. Well, it was there when I was a little kid, and it ran, and there was dark brown water out there, like in our stream. And then the problem we're having with Makaha Stream, so now you had at one time back there, before there were homes, it was all farmland. Before that, it was sugarcane company land, and before that, it was ranch land. They came in, they bulldozed, and there used to be a stream of runoff of Echo Stream and Makaha Stream further up the valley, and they diverted it somehow with their grading and grubbing and building your subdivision back there. It used to come out between, it's Aunt Guerrero's house now, and I don't know who owns the Sumita's old place, that it's for sale, and it's filled up level with sand. It's a vacant lot, but that used to be a 20-foot stream. So all that water got diverted into Makaha Stream, evidently from your culvert and your drainage system in your subdivision. So now Makaha Stream gets Echo Stream, that tributary that used to kind of flow off of there and at the top, and then came down. So Makaha Stream gets all that. Now the next problem we're having is they built Keeley Drive. They never put the proper drainage under it. So West Makaha Stream got diverted, and now it ends up in Makaha Stream. So that's why we're getting all the damage. And nobody has been willing to fix anything until this flood study. I would like to see more. I'm not convinced that fixing berms that were put in illegally and pipes that divert places to places that they weren't supposed to go to in the first place is the answer. So I'd like to see some more study done and make sure that when they do put in more dikes and dams, that they're not causing more problems for us people that already have too many problems.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah, we don't want to try to fix and make worse, certainly. But again, the problem is there's been a lot of development in the valley. And as this lady is saying, a lot of the natural flow of the water has been changed. You can't change it all back to natural again. So the question is, well, what kind of reasonable solutions can we do here? Other questions, concerns?
Yes, Bruce. My name's Keith Cole. I own the large blue house about 150 feet away from Makaha Bridge on Makaha Stream. Excuse me. I own the house about 150 feet upstream from the Bridge 3, the first bridge, right along the stream. We flood, whenever it floods, we get the most volume of water of anybody because we're at the bottom 100 feet from the bridge. So you have a dike proposal to protect the homes, as your assistant said. Would that dike go all the way to the bridge and protect my property?
The way the drawing has been done, preliminary drawing, yes.
Okay,
But let me add, exactly how we're going to build that, we don't know yet.
okay. And so I have a question for, I guess, you and your Okahara Engineering. Have you guys seen these maps? This is the existing 100-year floodplain. This is by RM Towel Company, submitted to Federal Highways and DOT. Have you seen this map? Okay, this is the existing 100-year floodplain. My house is right here. And here is Nukea Street and Manuku Street. They're back here. These guys. They're not in the 100, they're barely in the 100-year floodplain. And this is the current 100-year floodplain. And then, as Mr. Island knows who I am, said this is not about the Makaha bridges, but we're talking about, these are flood maps. Okay. After the bridge, this is the proposed floodplain boundary, proposed condition after the new bridge 3 is put in, the $20 million cement bridge, the new bridge that's going to be 90-foot span instead of 42 feet wide. However, on the upstream side, on the HRT property, they're going to put riprap curved inward so that if you're standing on the bridge looking upstream, there's going to be a 12-foot wall that constricts the stream toward this side, town side of the valley. Okay, resulting in, and this is RM Towel's map, and it's at Federal Highways, and DOT approved it, City Council approved the bridges project. So this project is approved, funded, going in. It's not a concept. And this is the proposed floodway. And all the Nukea and Manuku people will be right in the middle of the floodway, which they weren't before, due to the riprap on that other, across from my side of the stream, that curves inward and basically skews the stream right through my house, through the front house, and through the whole Manuku-Nukea neighborhood. Now, when they submitted these maps, I will say one thing. They didn't put the property boundaries on the map. These are superimposed by us. They just left that all blank back there. That's the new floodway. But I would like Okahara to tell me if that's false, because if that's the case, this effect of this riprap goes all the way up the valley. And by the way, HRT is the big benefactor. Their property becomes not zoned floodway anymore. So they were going to waltz into DPP later and say, let's rezone to residential. Well, all these people get the water over here. And the dike that is proposed in this slideshow is right in the middle of that blue area. That can't be built because it'll interfere with the new FEMA map from the bridge project. And the bridge, that's riprap. That's a cement bridge. That's never going to change once that's built. Riprap is like big rocks made like a jetty you know, to hold up that bank over there forever and not ever moving. So why you would ever build a bridge with curved riprap to block off the water's access to the bridge, creating a bottleneck right at my property, by the way. That's what DPP approved. That's
what's going to happen. It's been approved.
right.
Right? So what I would do if I were you, I would ask the flood study to address the new flood maps, right? Because
Well, I
that's...
am.
Okay, so rather than rehash the past, why don't you make the suggestion for the flood study to address the water that's now coming your way as you see it designed right there? Because the bridges are going to go in, okay?
Well, then they've determined the floodplain
The bridges-
basically all the way up the valley already. so
Bridges
I
are,
don't-
yeah, so why don't we address what we can do going forward and not address what we can't undo going backwards,
I
okay?
have one good suggestion, Bruce,
Okay,
is Keeley Drive has no drainage in the last few hundred, the pipes that go under Keeley Drive are way up the hill. No water goes through them. You don't need a berm, or I mean a ditch on the other side of Keeley Drive because everybody knows no water runs out of the West Makaha stream. The West Makaha stream's been diverted entirely into the Makaha stream. What needs to happen is Keeley Drive either needs some gigantic pipes under it down right across from my house where the West Makaha stream has all the water, but it can't get out Bridge 3A. Everybody who lives there knows that when it floods, water actually goes back inland under the other bridge by the bathrooms. In a floodway, in fact, it's on this map. During the flood, this goes under this bridge at 9 feet deep. But water at the other bridge is 7 feet deep. So actually, water is going to go back inland under both bridges, which were originally exiting all the water from Makaha Valley. But because Keeley Drive is a berm that separates right through the middle of the floodway, which is all zoned. There's Keeley Drive. It's in the floodway. It's right in the middle of the floodway, and it has no drainage, so it's basically a dam across the floodway. So waters from Makaha Stream cannot get to the other bridge to exit. If there was a big dip in Keeley Drive where water could get there when it's really flooding and exit under the other bridge, then you wouldn't have this problem of water ponding back on the beach side of the bridge. Doesn't have enough force to break out. If it was coming out of both bridges, it would break out sooner. And these maps, I have them, but I got to make some more copies. You say Okahawa is aware of these? No? Oh. Okay, well, these maps are available from RM Towel through the DOT. They're the ones building the bridge. They submitted these. I got these, they submitted them at City Council during some hearings. But I do say I imposed the property lines on them. They didn't have the property lines. I guess they didn't want to show that.
What I'd like to do, if you have some time next week, is come out and walk that area with you. Because I hear what you're saying and I see the maps, but the best thing to do is see it on the ground.
And I do have another comment. Across from my embankment, straight across, when it floods and it eats away the embankment, the top 6 feet of the embankment on HRT's property, or that whole side over there, is pure silt, held there by those halekoa trees and blocked by Keeley Drive from ever getting to the other bridge. And you don't see any rocks until like 6 feet deep. There's not a pea-sized pebble in that top 6 feet of silt. That's all the silt built over decades that Keeley Drive is blocking from getting to the other bridge. And it constricts the stream back this way toward the houses. And Mr. Isla's right, the bridge project's approved, and I guess an act of Congress won't stop it. So they want to put riprap to preserve HRT's illegal 6 feet, build up and keep it high, and so it can be rezoned. And this map proves it's going to be out of the floodway.
Well, again, let's assume now that bridge project is going to go ahead. Then our job is, what can we do to help protect your property and other properties?
That's why I was asking if the dike's going to go down past my property, because it can't go in the floodway. FEMA won't allow that. you can't build anything in the floodway like a dike in the middle of this map, then that bridge project is no good. You can't use this floodway. You can't put a dike in the middle of this blue area. You can't allow to build anything in the blue area.
Well,
Go ahead.
if we can, we'd
But
like to take a
I'll be
look.
glad to meet with you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is my wife, Juliana, and she's a civil engineer, by the way. You're licensed.
Okay, my name is Juliana. I am a licensed engineer. My husband mentioned, I like to make a comment about this bridge project. Mr. Ayla said the bridge going to go forward, and I'm not sure that project is going forward or should go forward. Okay, I'm a small homeowner. I'm not here to debate the director here, okay? So I just want to spell out some fact. As far as for the bridge project, the construction not start yet. There are people still debating the bridge design and when should rebuild this bridge. So if we, right now, if we know the bridge.
I'm sorry, I want, this is for the flood study, so if you say the bridge might not be built, what are your suggestions to help flooding in the valley? Because that's what we would like to hear for this flood study. And so if the bridge is built or not built, we still have a flooding issue in Makaha Valley. And I think that's what we're here, to hear the solutions, to hear what happened in the past, so we can get good data to present a draft back to the community for further input. We're here to say, how do we resolve the problems moving forward?
Okay, I'm not getting, don't worry.
I don't want to debate the bridge this evening.
I'm not going.
DOT has already said they're moving forward with the project. We're going to have to assume that's what's happening. So I want to deal with the flooding from the top of the valley to the east and the west side of that valley. Because I've got homeowners on Echo Stream that have been flooded out. I've got homeowners on the Makaha side, and I got homeowners on Lahaina Street being flooded out. So this is what I want to hear. The consultant needs to hear this information, and he's willing to come out. I've walked all the way up to the top of the valley with him, and I think that's what we want to hear tonight. I don't want to debate stopping the bridge, because we're not going to get our information. I really want to hear about the flooding in Makaha Valley. And I think everybody else wants to hear that. Am I correct? Okay, thank you. So if you've got some solutions on what else to help with the flooding in the valley, I would really like to hear it. And he's already said he'll come out with your husband and walk the area with you.
Okay, the last 6 minutes, Miss, you spend the time, not me. I start with Mr. Allen. I said, I'm not here tonight to debate him about the bridge project. Did I say that? So let me make it clear. I'm not here to debate the bridge project. Let's make that very clear, okay? I'm not appreciate the minute I open my mouth, you jump it over. I was not going to say this. I guess I will do this first, okay? Ms. Representative, we sent the email, camera, we sent the email asking, I hope this study is for the local communities, for the homeowners, for the landowners. When we sent the email, when we heard this meeting today, we nicely sent the email to Ms. Jo Jordan, and we asked question, can we get any information here, say? And until today, we don't have a single response from our representative, okay? And I heard she said loud, clear, she's here to hear everybody's input. But when we emailed her, we don't get any email back. And then the next thing we did is we sent the email to Mr. Bruce, right? and ask the information again. And 5 days later, we do get an email, and the email said, no data going to release to us at this time, generally speaking. Do you want me to read the email here?
If you'd like to, because I don't believe that's what was stated in the
Okay.
email.
Thank you for your email note. Our planning and engineering information is still in draft form. We will be compiling a draft report for the project during the next few months. The draft report will be made available for public review on the DLNR website. And do you want me to read our email?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, let's put this way. I know tonight a lot of folks have questions, so I want to make my points kind of short. And I did hear you say, right, you're willing to release the slide, those information, okay? Even that's, 10 days delay, but as far as you're willing to provide information, that's great. Thank you for willing to do that, okay? You do have our email, so please send us the information. Now, next, let me go on for this, the question about tonight flood study. My question here is, you mentioned there were 2 streams, the Makaha stream and Echo stream. I have a question about the Makaha stream. In the RM Towers EA regarding the bridge project, they did some study about Makaha stream. And I want to just simply know, have you guys reviewed their RM Towers EA, the information? In other words, in their study, they mentioned there were West Makaha stream and the Makaha stream, or West Makaha stream, East Makaha stream. People kind of calling different names, but as a matter of fact, in the history, there are 2 Makaha streams. And may I ask this question? Do you guys aware Makaha stream is not one stream in the long history?
Yes, we're aware, and it shows on our map as Makaha Stream and West Makaha Stream.
Okay, how much the stream still exists at this time? West Makaha stream and the Makaha stream, how much the water flow still existing at this time?
I don't have flow numbers to give you, but I know that a lot of the land that used to drain into West Makaha Stream has been diverted to Makaha Stream.
Okay, thank you. Can you please elaborate a little more about this West Makaha stream? Because in the long history, the major stream at early days was at West Makaha stream. And then in the RM Towers study days, they said there were 20% in Makaha stream, 20% water is going to the west side. The rest is in the main stream, which is in homeowner side. I'm not sure I should have to blow up over here. So I would like to, if possible, maybe you can elaborate about this Makaha stream, West Makaha stream. They still exist? Like earlier, Miss Kia and my husband Keith also mentioned about this. Actually, these days, Makaha stream coming down from up the hill in both water supplies property, coming down all the way, and then they flow to the ocean through Makaha Bridge 3. And then you turn back to, after they go into the ocean, you turn back to the mountainside, go through Makaha Bridge 3A, back to the Maliwai Pond, okay? And if we can still have West Makaha stream exist instead of going one, then the flooding issue will be tremendously improved. And Beck said a little bit about this bridge project. I wasn't going to, talk a whole lot about object bridge design, whatever. What I'm trying to say here is the bridge not built yet. If your study has come out certain things to prove, some plans, some construction or whatever the flood plan and should be done, and then that plan should go along with the bridge replacement project. You don't want to spend $20–30 million to build a bridge and then say, oh, sorry, Mr. Bruce, your study about this flood study, it's whatever deck plan or whatever the plan you proposed is a conflict with the bridge project, so cannot be done. So I think while the bridge not built yet, we should take the advantage of your study here to evaluate the whole thing.
Can I say thank you very much, and I'd be very pleased to go out on site with you and your husband and look at these things. But I appreciate your comments, but I do think we need to give other folks a chance to talk.
Okay.
You've been talking for 10 minutes now, so.
I'm sorry. I have another question, very important. When you earlier mentioned that this map
briefly,
is
please. Yes,
okay.
thank you.
I'm sorry. The handout said that this map, when you talk about, is dated March 2014. I know your form is, we hear good speech, and but your corporation is all planners. I don't believe you have a licensed surveyor or civil engineer, but you are doing a good job. I'm just wondering, may I ask what's the date or which company did such a survey to work out this map?
We developed that map in our office.
Okay, I'm sure you have data as the, to work out this, right? So can you please let us know what's the date you based on this information? I know you.
The blue flood areas are from the official federal flood maps.
May I have the date,
maps.
please? Which year?
Do you recall which year?
A rough idea?
After 2008, they revised it after 2008.
They're the most recent firm maps.
After 2008? Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Can we give someone else a chance, please? Please.
One more question, I'm sorry. About the Keeley Drive, do you guys know the history about the Keeley Drive? Have you checked in the city, the microfiche, about how the Keeley Drive, they never get a permit, the city has the bond, and then they withdraw the bond, and the Keeley Drive never have the any utility done?
I've heard some of the story, but we know that Keeley is still privately owned, and that's part of the problem.
Okay, can you
So-
please put this Keeley Drive in part of your study and then let us know some update?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, thank
Okay.
you.
Other questions and comments, please?
Yeah, my name is Mark Sui. So, this is going to be a long night. So if there's a chance for people to send written comments, would they be able to just send it directly to your email, Bruce?
That would be fine.
Okay, so I'll probably follow up with something in writing. But first of all, the storm in 2008, like you said, was 12 inches of rain in a day. And I went down the Eco Stream, and Robin was there too. And, the stream maintenance is our problem. And that was really clearly the problem. There was a block on that stream. And that block in the stream, no water went out to the ocean. All of it went spilled out. And that seemed to have escaped a lot of people's observation here. Now, since that happened, there's a law that went into place. It gives state civil defense the authority to go to private homeowners and tell them to clear their streams. And it gives them a little bit of guidance, not much. But since that's happened, that stream's been pretty well maintained. And we haven't had any real flooding since then. So I would argue that the idea of stream maintenance is really critical. And we need to up that provision and give the homeowners a little bit more guidance with some good engineering about what that means by stream maintenance. It doesn't mean sticking a barbed wire fence along the side of the fence or sticking a car alongside or piling up some debris along the edge, because that's what caused the snag. So that's number one. We need a little bit more guidance on what we need to do to maintain these streams. Number two, and that law gives civil defense the authority to go into these streams ahead of time to make sure it's taken care of. And by and large, I think it's been done fairly well on our side. The other question I have, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable with your design, which is just channel the water and send it back out down the ocean. I think we need to think a little bit more about what can we do to capture the water that's in these areas, because we don't get much rain. And so the idea of having little check dams along the way, the idea of having some more vegetation along the areas that make sense. And I think another policy issue we need to be real careful about is any future development needs to provide for some serious flood control measures, and it's not just running stuff down the streams. And then finally, I want to bring up a point in terms of maintenance. It goes beyond the streams. And if you look at the storm drains in Lahaina, the storm drains in Keeley Drive, the swells along Farrington Highway, they're plugged with trash. And that, I don't think that's entirely the city's responsibility. I think it's a lot of us as individual homeowners to be responsible and looking for that. But I think we need a little direction on this. So we need to know what the standard is, what needs to be done about taking care of areas like berms and not running a bulldozer through it and not clearing an area. I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And those quote unquote innocent efforts by little individuals up the stream creates a big problem for the guys down the stream. And I think we need a lot more education in that area. I'm very, very uncomfortable with your plans on, I understand the problems with Makaha stream, because there's just way too much water diverted into that stream already, and it really needs some work with channeling. But I think with Iku stream, I'm very uncomfortable with that design. I think maintenance and good control all the way up the line, I think will be more than adequate to take care of it. Again, no water went out that stream in 2008. It was completely blocked. And I have pictures of it, and some people know who was involved there. But that's my point, and I'll follow up in writing later.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Those are real good points.
Do we have time?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to give you a little more information, and like I said, I realize I'm really late with all this. I don't know if you're aware that a bulldozer came through Makaha stream, a big one. I don't know who sent it or who he was from, and he bulldozed a lot of Makaha stream from my house and on down, and asked me if I wanted to leave my tree or take it out. And at the time, I thought, oh, well, that's nice, because it got rid of my, weeds, because we aren't using it. But I don't know that you guys know that. And
When was this? Excuse me.
just shortly before the flood of 2008. And also, there should be a record somewhere, because it was a big piece of equipment. And then secondly, I don't know that you're aware, I took pictures, and I don't know if I can find them. Hopefully I got them, but if I do, I'll be happy to give them to you. But during that flood was when a goat came down and was killed, and a boat, and it was crazy. But the first day, we had rain during the night, and in the morning it was flooded within inches of the top of the bank, which I had never seen before. There was fast flowing, there were rapids. You could have done whitewater rafting in the stream. And but when it ended, we had a deep stream. The next day it rained again, and the second day it brought big boulders down. So the stream now is much shallower than it was before that storm, because the second day deposited big boulders. Now, I think where the boulders came from, and what made me think of it tonight, is that when that bulldozer came in, he took boulders and propped them up at the edge of the stream, and people actually lost terraced areas and stuff. So if you're not aware, I think it's worth trying to find out about. And I also, when we used to own the first house, my section, the lower section of Manuku and Nukea was built in 1987. And at that time, I checked when we moved to the back house, which was just about 7 or 8 years ago. We purchased the land behind us. That's where the stream is now. I called and was trying to understand easements, and I was told they were not flood easements, and they told me they were electrical easements, And they also told me I didn't need flood insurance. After 2008, I bought flood insurance, but I'm in the 100-year zone. And I think I've told you everything I can think of, but I definitely would be willing to write, and I'm sorry I didn't get involved sooner, because I get the feeling there are some things that you may not even have heard about yet. So
Thank you very much.
And I want to say thank you. I'm very grateful that you're going to be looking at this. Thank you.
Thank you, and we had not heard about the bulldozing, so we'll follow up on that. Yeah, that doesn't sound good to me. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Yes, sir. Go ahead. This gentleman and then Al.
Aloha. I'm Robin Heath. I want to say mahalo, Representative Jordan and Mr. Sushida. I live on the Eku Stream, one of the ag properties, actually right across from Mark. It was flooded out pretty bad in 2008. I just want to maybe underscore what Mark said about future development. I know we had a kind of a close brush where the golf course was going to get turned into some homelands and about 2,000 homes. And my thought was immediately about the hardscape up there that's just going to send more water straight down the road, because it comes down Eku Stream, but it also basically comes down the road.
So we've heard.
I get it from both sides. So I just, as we develop in the future, obviously some stuff is going to be developed, but land that's already conservation, I mean, we got to make sure that stays conservation and not turned into homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha, Bruce. I saw your recommendations and your findings, and I'm really impressed with the thoroughness. To belabor a point about the Keeley side Makaha Stream dike that you propose, I just want to say that the good thing about your independent recommendation, you came up with this dike system to protect the residents on Manuku and Nukea streets all the way to Farrington Highway, independently. But what that independent evaluation determined was exactly what the Coles, who are very emotional and maybe lost their message to you in their questions, tried to make, in that the bridge project has a riprap dike system of its own that protects floodplain at the cost of putting the Manuku and Nukea residents at extreme risk. And you've independently verified what they've been saying in testimony for 5 years now, and continue to be ignored and berated and heckled, etc. I find it amazing that we're putting a $23 million project in when we know that that project is intentionally flooding residents on Nukea and Manuku streets. That's my comment. But now my question: there's what's supposed to be a comprehensive drainage system to protect the towers. And then this is on Board of Water Supply property. The property which is the lion's share of Makaha Valley. In my numbers, it's 4,009 acres. But there's a system over that protects the towers. Then there's a system over on the east side of the valley that protects Manaolu Estates, Makaha Valley Estates, a Board of Water Supply pump house and a well, and the east golf course below that, which is currently east course, but someday is going to have homes on it. So there's about 394 acres plus of land over there that doesn't have a working drainage system. But there's an existing one. My question to you is, in regards to the drain system on the east side, as well as behind the towers, owned by the city and county / Board of Water Supply, are they maintaining it? Is it serviceable? And if not, why not?
Those are real good questions. I cannot speak for the Board of Water Supply, but let me tell you that our study will look at what Al's saying is the drainage system that protects Mauna Olu homes is also very important for other lands downstream of Mauna Olu. So that's an area that we haven't looked at in detail yet, but we will, because that obviously is an important part of the whole puzzle and the whole problem. So thank you for pointing that out.
But do you have any comments on the maintenance of that, and or especially the towers? the berm system behind that?
Well, I have not had an opportunity to talk with Makaha Towers folks. I don't know if anybody here from the management group at the towers, yes? No? But my understanding is their agreement with Board of Water Supply is that the towers management maintains that drainage system behind the towers. That's my understanding. I might add, though, our observation walking back there is that it needs work. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Joyce Selford. I live on New Care Street. And the back of my house, like you said, half of it, the dry bed is in my property. When I first moved in there, we all had to take the classes on how we had to handle everything over there. My comment to you is to let you know that I do have an easement, which is that drain pipe for all the rubbish that comes. And I did call the city, and I actually had them come out. We had the plans. And when he came out and he looked at the drain pipe that comes out of my property, he closed that all up and says, it's not built to the right drawing. And then he said, and I didn't tell you this, and he left. So the other thing that he told me is the best thing I could do is that to add an extension on it, because it's supposed to go straight across to the other property. And unless I'm not Kaiser, so I cannot afford that. But basically, that's what he said, that easement had to go, and then I have to maintain that easement. So that's all the garbage that comes from the street ends up in the backyard of my yard. And then a couple houses above, if you're going out Mauka, you're gonna see that there's concrete that goes from both sides, like that drawing you have. Right, so that drawing you have, it's kind of like, it's built like that, but that's like 2 houses up, and then the rest of it is all just dirt and just dry bed. And then when we had the flood, that was my goat that died, thank you very much. And that was because I got the goat to eat the rubbish, so I can keep the dry bed clear from garbage.
Okay.
You know, so I put a goat back there. Unfortunately, I didn't get the goat fast enough and it drowned. So then we got the goat and put him up so that the sharks don't come in. But lo and behold, the mouth of that was plugged, so none of that water could go to the ocean, and it was coming on my property higher up. But also, you know, the property on the other side, that water drains into the riverbed because all the water's up there, and it's falling into the dry bed. So that tells me that's the flood area, that's where the water's supposed to be going, is on that side. So just FYI.
Can you share with us your address so
Oh,
that
yeah.
we know where the property
Yeah,
is?
84481. And that's Nuken. It's like, boom, right there. I have pictures which show the swing from the tree and the water is like right next to each other.
Okay. And if you can contact us, maybe we can get together and take a
Right.
look at your situation.
Yeah, and you guys, Ms. Jordan, you did answer our email, and we understood that you didn't have that information to give to us. So my daughter was just fine. She said, Mom, she doesn't have it, and that it would get given to us from the meeting. And I'm okay with that, because we just need to know what was happening.
On the back of the handout
Uh-huh.
is contact
Oh, okay.
numbers
Yeah.
for me, phone and email.
Yeah, me, I'm good email kind.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments, questions? Good input from you folks. Thank you. Mr. Frenzel.
Since no one's asking, I did want to help you answer a question you got earlier regarding EcoStream. There was some criticism about just having a channel like you're proposing, but I'm not sure it was totally clear in Gabrielle's presentation. Maybe might bring up the slide, but you also had a catchment area up at the top to help collect and slow
That's right.
down water.
A detention basin. Yeah. So the concept right now, and it's still preliminary for EcoStream, again, as Al's saying, is yes, a flood channel that will contain a lot of the flood water, but also high up where the flood channel starts, we would put in about a 5-acre, what we call a detention basin. So that, as Mark Suiso was saying, we need to contain and store water up in the watershed. That's, yeah, the lady's saying like a reservoir, sort of like that. The detention basin will hold some of that flood water so that you will have less flow in that flood channel. But at least preliminarily, we think you need both to store all the water so there be no flooding downstream and not do a flood channel. You would need a big reservoir, and that takes a lot of land. Yes, sir.
Yes, the idea of retention.
Excuse me, name please.
Excuse me?
Your name, please.
Oh, Herb Janey. I live at Makaha Plantations for the last 8 years, and I went through that storm in '08, where the Makaha Valley is normally, the stream is normally dry, or if we have a good rain, it's maybe 10, 20 feet across, but during that rain, it expanded to about 200 feet, and with rocks and trees and everything else coming down. So your concept of having a retention pond or lake or something up in the valley, to me, makes a lot of sense, especially when there was, during the summers, we have very dry summers here, and fires just sort of pop up here and there, and the hillsides burn. And we've got a lot of houses at the end of the valley now. And I watched one time a helicopter coming down. He had a big bucket, and he dumped it, he filled it, he came down low enough so the bucket went into the, a little pond that's on the golf course. And he filled it up that way, and then took it up to where the fire was and dumped it. So if we increase this idea of a retention pond, it would also aid in protecting the homes from fire and putting out the, the dry vegetation when it does burn, because lots of it on hillside, and there's no way a truck or people are, actually going to get to it. Okay, that's one point. The other point that I'm looking at your maps, and it seems like there's enough water coming down both of these streams to make, miniature lakes down by Farrington Highway, which to me signifies that we've got a dam there. Farrington Highway, those culverts that go under, or the bridges, or whatever you want to call it, they're actually acting like dams, and they're helping to form this lake.
That's right.
So do we have any idea of what the capacity of these culverts under Farrington are? Can they, deal with 100-year flood rains that we've been getting? And if they can't, then the simple solution would be to make a bigger hole under Farrington and let the water go out into the ocean, and then you wouldn't get those lakes.
Well, that's a good comment. Part of the problem, though, as I think a lot of you folks know, a lot of Farrington Highway itself acts like a dam. It's not just the bridges.
Yeah.
It's the highway. Because a lot of this coastal area where the highway is built used to be low-lying wetland areas. So that highway, most of it is sitting on fill. So that's a big problem, frankly, for Waianae.
But still, we're aiming both of these streams at a certain area of that highway.
Yeah.
And maybe that whole portion of the highway needs to be a bunch of culverts to increase your flow capacity so these lakes don't form. And if the lakes don't form, the houses don't get flooded. Putting berms in there to hold back water and everything makes a lot of sense to me too, but you have to, in my opinion, you would have to integrate that with the bridge culvert capacity so the water can pass out into the ocean fairly quickly and doesn't back up.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Good point.
I have a question. My name is James. I used to live in Makaha, but I live over in Waianae anymore. But when they started building Mililani Mauka, they put in big, huge concrete culverts under the subdivision. I know, I delivered all the concrete blocks up there. Would that be feasible to put something in like that over there in Makaha to alleviate some of the flooding?
Good question. Technically, sure, can do something like that, and that would help. The constraints are obviously cost, because as you know, if you put those in, if they're big, they cost plenty money. The other problem is, again, these are almost all privately owned roads, not city roads. So then the question is, you put in underground drainage, who maintains? The city is not going to maintain.
Well, I know the ones they put up in Milinani Mauka, it doesn't need maintaining. They're big enough where they don't need anybody to go in. And all those concrete culverts are under the houses. That whole Milinani Mauka subdivision underneath is nothing but drainage culverts, big concrete culverts underneath there. And I know that they don't have anybody that drives through there and clears them out, and so it does it by itself.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns or comments tonight? Mr. Frenzel?
I'm going to take your time as long as you're still here. Two things. First, I want to thank William Isle and Joe Jordan for putting the money and the time to put this bill together. And that brings on a concern I have in that I can tell from the time you put into this that you also have to pay for Okahara and Associates, that $500,000 may not be enough to finish your study and do it totally, right? I hope you aren't. I hope you don't have to cut your study short based on the budget, and I would wish there was a way that if more money would be needed to plus it up, just so it's done right and doesn't have to be done again. But now my question has to go with some folklore here. I don't have facts on this, but I am told that at one time there were 2 National Weather Service rain gauges in the valley, one up high and one low, and that the one up high still works and the one low doesn't. Which, if that story is true, what that means is if we have a flooding situation and people want to make insurance claims, et cetera, the FEMA, et cetera, will go to the nearest rain gauge. If they go to the rain gauge up higher in the valley, it's going to always show much more rain, and it's going to show the 100-year storm condition or 500-year storm condition before that may not have actually occurred down in the lower plain. And what that'll mean is the act of God defense will come in, and no one will be liable for any repercussions of flooding. So I just ask you to look into whether or not there used to be a rain gauge down below where people live, and whether there should be.
Good question. I think, Al, you're talking about the USGS stream gauges? Okay, because there is a difference, obviously, between a rain gauge and a stream gauge.
Actually, I'm not sure what I'm talking about. I'm not
Okay.
talking about what FEMA uses or insurance company use, whatever rain gauge that may be.
Well, there used to be 2 federal stream gauges on Makaha Stream that measured stream flow. There's one higher up the valley and one lower in the valley. The one lower was discontinued. The lower gauge was discontinued in 2004 because of lack of funding. We certainly can look at the need for more rain gauges in the future. Again, the main question there is who pays? Who pays for that? But given the flooding problems here, that would probably be smart to be measuring stream flow as well as rainfall for that matter.
Right.
Gabrielle's saying, as far as we know, there's only ever been 1 rain gauge high up in the valley.
Oh, I don't know. One comment and one question. Where I live, down below, I live very near to where the other lady spoke. Our fences actually at one point touch. I'm in a very strange lot. But at any rate, when we first moved in '87, friends of ours built a folly, a Samoan house. And they built it out in the stream for their kids to play in. And somebody at that point was inspecting because they came and made them take it down. This was approximately '87 or '88 when the houses were new. Now, above me, which is an older section that was built about 10 years earlier than our homes, It was the first part of that division. The people have put in gardens and the golf courses up there. So, I mean, I really feel kind of stupid because if the water is coming from the mountains, how does it get through all that blockage up above me? And if they were so strict on this poor family with their little kid's playhouse that I think it would have fallen down in the flood, they were forced to take it out. But above me, I know that people, as someone mentioned earlier, are bringing in little bulldozers and forming gardens and filling in the stream. So I'm confused by that. Why be so much stricter down below me than you are above me? And like I said, I don't even understand how the water gets through. And my second question, I am so sufficiently confused. With the new floodplain map, that's why I want to go take a look at it, and it sounded like you need to it sounded like you had not seen it either. But I need to look at that because what doesn't make sense to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, like a cognitive dissonance. FEMA is federal money, has approved this project. And if it floods our property, there's federal money. There was low-income housing. There were 40 homes or 20 homes, I forget which, of farmers' home loans built on Nukea and Manuku. And if this turns out to be true with the bridge, then I think we need to contact the federal government and let them know that the money they spent building houses is going to be in jeopardy because of other federal money. It just feels like I went through the rabbit hole, It doesn't make sense to me. I want to, again, thank you for looking at this. I could tell some of this is new to you. Yeah.
Well, your comment about problems with federal government are well taken. But as you folks know, sometimes one agency doesn't necessarily talk with the other, so unfortunately. Okay, we are at 8:30, so we'll take a little bit more of your time, but we don't want to keep people too late. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Mona Neal, and I live on Lahaina Street, between the two streams, right in the middle. We live also close to Ikoone. I didn't know we had storm drainage, but I think the street is our storm drain.
Yes.
When it rains, you would think because the road is kind of flat that, the water wouldn't be so bad, but we do have a slope. It comes from the Keawe side and goes to Waianae. The water comes down the road into one side of our yard, through our yard, out, goes under our house, out our driveway, and continues down the road. When we had that big storm, at the corner of Lahaina and Makaha Valley Road, there was a big sinkhole. Okay, because of the storm. Also, I heard years ago that small pond the other gentleman was talking about, where the fire helicopter picked up water, that pond overflowed and caused damage too. There was flooding from that pond because of rain. So if you're going to have a detention area way up high, I just hope it's not going to cause more flooding when it overflows. If it's going to be that much bigger and nobody's going to monitor, you have to have somewhere to get rid of the water when you're going to have detention tanks or ponds or whatever. You're going to collect water, but if nobody's monitoring, how are you going to, make sure that nobody gets flooded? Also, I know that Uluvehi was part of Model Cities. Maybe you could get federal funding to actually improve our road area and have storm drains, because we have bad sidewalks. In fact, we don't even have a sidewalk, it's asphalt. And there's elementary school right down the road from me. One side is a small asphalt, maybe 3 feet. Kids go to and from school on that, or across the street, it's all dirt on the side of the road. And during bad weather, you can imagine how they have to walk to and from school. Talking about EcoStream, I actually had to go through that area when they had the last big storm, and it was horrible. The water was over the road, going over, not under. And it was very spooky to drive through, just like in that picture on that paper. That's how high the water was. And my car is pretty high, and the water was up above. So please take into consideration how you can open up maybe the area that it's going to flow into if you're going to do it that way. You know, I don't know if you're going to use culverts or how you're going to do it, but you have to get the water to go under and not over the road. Thank you.
Understand, right? Not over the road, certainly. Any more? One more, two more?
Aloha, my name is Jack DeFeo. I'm not a property owner, I'm a renter, and having listened to this history of the flooding in this area, I can tell you what comes to my mind is this is what happens when you kick the can down the road. And eventually, once you pile all that up under the carpet, you're going to trip over it. And this is what you've been solicited to fix, a problem that has been ongoing decade after decade. And another problem, having listened to the history of all of this flooding, is what happens when you put profit ahead of people. And then at the same time, you and I are on the same page where you have these developers owning these roads where the state or the city ceases to have any responsibility. That I find to be a recipe for disaster, as you well know. There is no accountability. When the community asks, well, who's this and who's that, everybody gets lost looking for who's responsible. Nobody responds. And all of a sudden, you know, the victim of this flooding is overwhelmed with massive amounts of confusion. Number one, kicking the road down the can, putting profits ahead of people, and at the same time, no accountability, city and state. And at the same time, last but not least, federal. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's a pretty good summary of the problem. Yes, Kaya. Last comment.
I have a question. We went to the zoning commission hearing for the Pacific Links golf course. They're redoing and rejuvenating their golf course. We found out that they already got their CLOMAR from FEMA, which will remap the valley. I don't know how much in their application, there's like 70 acres of floodway that they're going to be grubbing, grading, filling, whatever they're doing up there. My question is, they got the CLOMAR back in the end of November, beginning of December sometime. You started this. Have you been able to figure out how your study can coincide with them so that we don't get more repercussions down at the bottom of the hill from them grubbing, grading, filling in a floodway that's already giving us problems?
Okay, that's a very good question. We don't have their grading plan, but we can get it. So we'll look at that. But certainly that is concern. Whatever work is being done, whether it's on their property or other properties, if it's work within the floodplain, it is not supposed to make the flood zone bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll need to take a look at that.
What about them making the flood zone smaller and it ending up on top of all the residents? Because their maps that they submitted back, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, drew a line right through the Manuku Nukea subdivision and it was moving the Makaha stream from the ag floodway land across from Lois and all these people, right on top of, and one of them, it was taking 40 feet of his backyard. And then the next door neighbor only had 5 feet. I don't know how they drew a line. Mother Nature, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think Mother Nature looks at pretty maps and she's not gonna follow it. You draw a line through something and you stop it at the top or the bottom, Mother Nature's not going to stop at the top or the bottom, and she's not going to stop at that line. So that's why I'm concerned, because they've submitted these maps, they've gotten their rezoning to go ahead and do what they want to do, but they're going to do that, and we may not get the money to fix the problem. before it happens and after it happens.
Okay.
So if you can get with them and at least everybody work together, because nobody has worked together in the last 50 years. Never. They did the subdivision and widened the stream. My father and I and my mom, we lost all our fences and 30 feet of property. We used to own across the street, 2.7 acres. And we never got that 30 feet back of 2.3 acres on that side. We didn't lose anything on the inside, but on the stream side, we lost everything.
Okay.
So hopefully everybody can start working together and not have DLNR doing something, your flood study doing something, Pacific Link's doing something, DOT doing something, and it all clashes. And we're the people that are suffering for it.
Understand. Well,
Okay.
We'll certainly take a look at that. Thank you. One last comment.
One last point. Developers, it's obvious to me, and hopefully everybody will see it for what it is. Developers have been running roughshod over the whole system. They've been calling the shots and laughing all the way to the bank because they're not going to be held responsible for their mistakes. It is a crime and a recipe for disaster that we should take the responsibility for, of making these development companies who are making billions of dollars, and then they leave the state, laughing all the way to the bank and having us pay for their bill.
Excuse me, I have a 60-second comment, is that okay?
60 seconds, thank you.
60 second, yeah. It's an issue we haven't brought up yet. We talk about floodplains. If you have a mortgage, you're required to have flood insurance. And I've seen some recent articles where they say the agency that is in charge of that is $25 billion in the hole right now, and they're trying to dig their way out by doubling and tripling the cost of flood insurance.
That's right.
So it would behoove you in your study here somehow to reduce the size of the floodplain so the people that are living there aren't socked with a new mortgage basically every year just to pay for flood insurance.
Yes, and
it.
that's the intent of our idea for Eku Stream. If that detention basin and flood channel are built, then the homes in that area will be outside of the floodplain. We do not. We do not have enforcement powers. Others perhaps do. If there's any development that's going to make the flooding worse, that in our analysis, we can certainly say that. Yeah. Yes, understand. And John wants the last word.
Last word is, I'm John DeSoto, president of Monolo Association. I just want to comment first of thanking you, Representative Joe Jordan, for bringing us together. You know, we can agree to disagree with a lot of things, and for coming out and having people like Bruce, them and their group, and of course with Willie, you know, he's been here, done that. He knows a lot about what's been going on. And so, and what you did, Representative Joe Jordan, is bring everybody together. Even if we can agree to disagree, the only way we're going to succeed is communication. And we have to find out what the left hand is doing with the right hand, et cetera, et cetera. We can point fingers at everybody and everything too, but a lot of times we don't point fingers at the person we're looking at in the mirror, because that's the person that's always trying to blame somebody. But in order to be involved in making sure it's a win-win, not I win and you lose, or you win and I lose, it's making a win-win is through communication. And this is what it's all about. I have to say I did go out with Bruce and with his staff. They're completely awesome. No sense of, well, you know, this is wrong, this is bad. They just went and they saw what was there and how it was the reason it is today, and the reason why we are, you know, in a situation where, you know, it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't do this, etc. But a lot of times, I must say, Bruce,
and we walk with this too, walk through it too. We've come across a lot of situations when, of course, we can blame with people building houses, et cetera, the future. Of course, you have to make sure that they don't go ahead and reinvent the wheel again, of making mistakes that was done, in previous. But what I've taken a look at, and the times I've grown up all over here, is that we have a lot of people who live here who does not aloha the aina, the property. They got junk cars in the property, blocking the streams, no haliho, the roads up in that area where the concrete drainage is, it's all blocked up with dirt and debris and opala. We got homeless people sleeping underneath the bridge with beds and all kinds of other things out there. So it's like, it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't of doing that. But by you coming here tonight and explaining to us, like what we did with the homeowners here that live with care among them, at least you have a chance, you're going to sit down with them and you can have the dialogue. And that's what it's needed. It got to be dialogue. Some people want to make it happen overnight. Aole. It's not going to happen that way. We've been there, done that. We know what it is. We got to make sure that everybody comes together. So I just want to say, thank you, Representative Joe Jordan, for making this happen. Again, it'll never ever stop. We're going to continue to do this again, but it has to be a win-win situation, and we appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and thank you to all of you for coming tonight. And contact us. Be glad to talk with you some more. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who come, and thank you, John. That's true. We can agree to disagree. Please, if you want to talk offline, grab the contact information. Bruce will answer your emails. He will come out. I think he's probably been out here like 20 times. He will come out one-on-one. He will come out and look at whatever you're talking about. He is very open to this. So we still have time. You heard him say he will come out and speak with residents here.